Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I was off last week. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I'm going to do something else here. Let's see. Let's see. Verify that it's you. Just- All right. I'm going to make sure that I can also see myself on YouTube here. Let's see. All right, my computer is doing its thing. Please bear with me. All right, so my channel. All right, there is the red live icon. And there's me. There's me. All right, well, whoever comes in tonight, please smash that like button and also let me know who's there, know who you are, and also what you think about any of this. I'm going to show two videos tonight. One was requested during my last stream. So, to honor that request, we're going to review a video, one by Dr. Orion Tarraban. And this is historic because this will be the first I review one of Dr. Tarraban's videos here on this channel. T. Riddler, you are the first one in, hopefully not the last. So thank you for being here. Please smash that like button. And let me make sure my Microsoft Word is working with me here. All right. So, see, Riddler, you know our running joke. Should I say it? Should I say it? No food fights in my chat. All right. So without further ado, I am going to play my intro, and then I will get this party started. I see some more folks are coming in. Thank you for coming in. Please smash that like button, and T Riddler, let me know he was here. Whoever else is watching, let me know who all else is there. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Father's Day 2025, uh, older love songs, and that all connects into this. And then we are going to take a look at one of Dr. Orion Tarraban's uh, recent videos from Psych Hacks. Give me a second, everybody. As soon as I pop up back on the screen, I will play the intro and get started. I'm just waiting on Google Chrome here. All right, there we go. Hey, can you guys still hear me? Were you guys able to hear me out there, T Riddler? If you're still there, were you able to hear me? Say yes, say no. Give me a one. Give me something. Were you able to hear me? All right, thank you. Because on this end, I'm gonna split. I'm gonna explain why I took a week off last week. But sometimes this end things kind of the spinning circle thing happens and the computer freezes and I can't see you guys, but you guys can see me. But that's good to know that the system is still recording the way it's supposed to. All right, I'll see you on the other side of the intro. T Wither, thank you. Everybody, please smash that like button and let me know who's here and let me know what you think about any of this that I share with you all tonight. So, Where did this topic come from? So I'm going to admit that uh, because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information.
That we will rush to finish things that are important so we can do things that are not. And I believe it's an immaturity there. People just don't understand that, life isn't about having fun all the time. You have to have fun sometimes. I agree. But as an adult, there's time where you have to just say, okay, listen, I got to get down to work right now. And I don't think enough of us value that time or really understand the fruits of that labor. Somehow we think things are just going to be without that kind of effort. And culturally, there's a deficiency there. That's why I always say that there's no political solution for cultural deficiencies.
So, where did this topic come from? So I'm going to admit that uh, because of where I come from, see, in this world, we're all living in different worlds, and not everybody is privy to the same information. All right, guys, I hope that intro went off for you guys the way that it was supposed to. Once again, there was another glitch in the matrix here in the Big Discussions 76 studio. I'm tempted to play that again, but I think we'll just soldier on. T Riddler, see, there you go, T Riddler. You know, my part of my modus operandi is to be discreet. So, my former stepfather, since we're on Father's Day, had a saying. He said, "Those who know don't say, and those who say don't know." So I'm gonna punt that one. There you go, Tony. No kiss and tell. All right. So hoping that intro went off the way that it was supposed to. We're gonna soldier on, so I can land the plane. Um, so I took a week off last week. That was in part to rest, but also to try to get the last bit of productivity out of this computer that I could. Microsoft Windows is going to, I think, Windows 11 is going to be the version of Windows going forward in October. This computer is running Microsoft Windows 10, but 2 years ago in 2023, a bunch of things happened. Yeah, a bunch of things happened in 2023. Well, T Riddler, Michigan won the national title, right? But there was, speaking of this question, T Riddler, there was quite a bit of turmoil in my personal life. I'll share that. And it was right around this time. Um, it's Father's Day weekend coming up. Me and my father fell out in 2023 over something silly. Okay. And then around this time up in the Michigan area, I was at a coffee shop and this computer started starting up slowly. So up to that point, the computer would boot up within about 5 minutes. And then from that, something happened. I was in a coffee shop in Royal Oak, Michigan, and this computer started booting up. It would take 20 minutes, 15 minutes to boot this computer up, okay, and get it running and get all the systems going. And I didn't know what happened. I thought it was broken. And so for 2 years, for 2 whole years, it took about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it would change for this computer to boot up and to get up to speed. And that's problematic because it's going to interfere with you coming home and starting your live streams, but it just kills your efficiency as a user of the computer. So I looked into it last week. It's interesting. None of the tech guys here were able to point me to the problem. I'm thinking about, I don't want to call out the guys. You know who all the computer guys are, but nobody said, "Hey, Dr. Dunbar, check this, and this." So I watched the video last week, and it turned out to be the temporary files. So this computer had saved up a folder full of 21,000 temporary files since 2022. So for those of you guys out there, if your computer ever starts moving very slowly, okay, it may be that you have a ton of temporary files saved that are using up memory and killing the computer's performance. Okay, so I cleaned all those out, and all of last week was just spent wrestling with this computer, trying to get it back to where it was. T. Riddler is laughing and he says, "Okay, I hear you. Stay out of trouble." Okay, all right. So that's what I was doing last week. It's starting pretty quickly now. There's still a few glitches here and there, but I think yeah, we'll have a me and this unit will have a good last ride before I have to retire it. A lot was done on this computer. I published my book. I've done numerous streams for you guys. So yeah, a lot's been done here. All right, let's get into this. 2 videos and a few words about Father's Day 2025. So I said that in 2023, yeah, there was a big falling out between me and my father, and then I think a couple of months later, he fell out with me and my brother. Family's complex, guys, and yeah, for sometimes you get into spats with relatives, your parents in particular, for any number of reasons. And now, this time of year, it's it's yeah, it's kind of bittersweet. I'm not a father myself, okay? And I'm telling you guys right now what's going to happen, okay? I'm going to shoot my father a text probably later this week. It might be Friday, it might be Saturday, it might be Sunday itself. I'm going to send him a Happy Father's Day text. Okay, he's going to thank me, and then he's gonna work in. Well, I hope you get to experience this one day. He's going to work in. Well, hopefully you'll get to feel what this feels like one day. We're like wide receivers running patterns today. It's like clockwork. That train is never late. So I'm expecting when I send him that text, he's gonna send that back. Okay, so that's a bit of a family thing. Okay, and it's not for not trying, but it's I'm sorry, it's life circumstance. That's what I would attribute that to. Okay, it's life circumstance. Okay, it's not knowing what to look out for when I was younger, not being gamed up in certain ways, and I'm not saying game in terms of lying and playing games with ladies, but I'm saying knowing how to operate, knowing how to be my best self, knowing what to look out for, knowing what certain things mean. If you're not gamed up as a young man, and you're sent out there and you're gonna make mistakes. Okay, you're not gonna know what to look for. You might pass some things over, and you might get into dysfunctional relationship after dysfunctional relationship after dysfunctional relationship, and you won't know what's going on. Um, fortunately, we have these digital spaces now that kind of break these things down. A lot of people don't understand what these digital spaces are for, but there are a lot of things that you learn here by trading notes with other men that has a negative stigma to it that you may not have learned at home. You may not have learned what a double monk strap shoe is. You may not have learned what good colognes are and the importance of having colognes or being the best version of yourself. You might have just come out thinking that your college degree was the most important thing, but that's not necessarily so. So I'm saying all that to say that this is a bittersweet time of year, and I decided to start this off with this because I think again there are a lot of things that are being shared online from all kinds of people that explain pretty much many of the generational shifts. The generational shifts, the changes in the environment, the changes in society, the changes in culture, because all of that plays a role in the collective lived experiences of us today. It's a different world than it was 50 years ago. Okay. Um, One of the most important things my mother ever shared with me was that she went to college looking for a husband. Okay. My mother went to college looking for a husband. Okay. I'll say it again. My mother went to college looking for a husband. So that's an advantage that my father had over me, because the women in my cohort, the young ladies in my cohort, they weren't at college looking for that. And that's one of the many epiphanies I've had since I've been here in the DMV. Um, that's one of the many epiphanies that I've had, and I think I'll stop that there. Okay, so the thumbnail for this live stream is a baseball mitt. That's a payment of homage to my father, because he was a baseball player. He wasn't a basketball guy, but he was a baseball player. So that was a little tribute to him. That's why I went with that image. And I think that I'm thinking, shout out to Dr. Thunder. I was thinking about Dr. Thunder and his son earlier. Uh, Dr. Thunder's son has it really, really good. He's fortunate to have Dr. Thunder, because Dr. Thunder is there and he's developing his son in music, and in physically. Okay. But it looks like Dr. Thunder, for the most part, wants what's best for his son. I don't think when Dr. Thunder's son gets older, Dr. Thunder's going to feel envious of his son. I don't think he's going to compete with his son. I don't think he's going to put his son down. Okay. And salute to Dr. Thunder and all the dads out there who have made the attempt to lift their sons up, because that doesn't happen in every family. So I was thinking about that earlier. Uh, my book, and we're going to get to the video shortly. And in my book, I talk about my upbringing. I talk about my family history a little bit. The fact that my parents split when I was 3 years old. My father was far away. But I also talk about how the relationship changed. I think I looked up to Michael Jordan when I was a kid, like a lot of kids at that time. And part of the Michael Jordan story was his tight bond and his tight relationship with his father, James Jordan. Okay. And you could see, at least in the way that the story was told, that James was Michael's number one supporter. James was Michael's number one cheerleader. Okay. Um, Michael looked up to James as well. Okay. I'm going to be discreet here, but not every father son relationship is like that. Some father son relationships are healthy throughout. Some father son relationships are healthy early on and then they mutate into something else. Some father son relationships are like that of Eddie Kane. Okay, in the Five Heartbeats, Eddie Kane was the first lead singer, but his father was abusive to him. Okay, so not every father son relationship is the same. T Riddler, this question here, I'm going to be discreet. I don't know who's watching. To some degree, things are still a little uncertain right now. Okay, uncertain. Things are a little uncertain right now. And that's the other thing, is that each of us needs to know our family history. Okay, because when people get older, some things start emerging, some things start happening, like dementia and mental illness. And you need to know what medical conditions your parents had and what medical conditions were on each side of the family. Was there heart disease? Was there cholesterol, out of control cholesterol? Was there dementia? Was there high blood pressure? Okay, you need to know those things. So even if you have a dysfunctional relationship with either one of your parents, it's important to have them there, both sides of your family, so you could talk to them and learn those things. Okay, so I, at work, you guys know that I wrote a book, but I also journal, and I did journal a couple of things earlier, and we're gonna get to the videos, I promise. I did journal, um, and I jotted some things down that I'm gonna share with you guys. Abdul Gaines is here. Abdul Gaines, happy early Father's Day to you. Abdul Gaines is a dedicated father, and he loves his daughter. And yeah, Abdul Gaines is a in my book, he's a really really good father and a friend. Okay, the Equalizer is here. Okay, just a couple of notes. I'm not going to put these on the screen, but a couple of things that I thought about. AV Media. Here's one of the computer guys. AV Media. I was telling everybody that when I was off last week from YouTubing, I was trying to figure out how to get my computer back to its peak performance, and I had a folder full of 21,000 temporary files. So all of last week was spent deleting those files. The computer itself had to kind of get its footing again and realize, okay, wow, I don't have those files in me anymore. So that's what I was doing last week. So you're a tech guy, so I was getting ready to contact you to ask you about advice for buying a new one, but I'm going to be able to ride this one out probably until the fall when they make that absolute Windows 11 push. So I jotted down some things when I journal. Um, I'm going to read this to you guys. I'm going to read this to you guys. I'm a writer. I want to share this with the audience. And this gets to the complexity of family and father-son relationships. Okay. The Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader thing, that yeah, that's real. Okay. Okay. Father's Day week 2025. This is Father's Day week for 2025. In modern times, this week brings a good amount of angst. I'm not a father, and these days, sending the wish to my father triggers the I hope you get to experience it one day yourself, or it's not too late for you. I get that he is feeling that longing for grandchildren, but life brought us here, and it was partially his doing. He spoke ill of my mother and other women for most of my childhood. He encouraged waiting later for marriage. He did not pass on that success in life is having a family and continuing the bloodline. He did not encourage at some point joining his fraternity or another, at least for the social benefits. As I launched into my career, he encouraged me not to be upfront about having my doctorate socially. My father encouraged me to hide that from women initially. Don't tell them you're don't tell them you're a doctor. Tell them you work in a lab, but don't tell them you're a doctor right away. He didn't encourage me to share that accomplishment. Kevin Samuels did when we met. Um, as I launched into my career, he encouraged me not to be upfront about having my doctorate. In many cases, he became more of an adversary and an arch nemesis as opposed to a mentor. In short, he did his part in bringing us here. And I think I'll leave this here. That's a journal entry. I write every day. So I'm just showing receipts. I publish books and I write. I didn't mean to have AV Media's picture up there that entire time. AV Media, I've had this unit. This is a Hewlett Packard. I've had this since before COVID. So this computer is probably about 7 to 8 years old. Okay. Okay. And it has a seventh generation Core i5 processor. Okay. So that's my little intro to Father's Day 2025. Okay, it's a bittersweet time of year, and it's an interesting time of year. If you guys want to say anything about your fathers, there in the chat, feel free to do so. If you have any reaction to what I just read, feel free to do that. Do you guys have good relationships with your fathers? Are you guys like Michael Jordan and James Jordan, or are you like Joe Jackson and Michael Jackson? Okay, are you like Eddie Kane and his father? Do you guys have a mixture of the two? Did your fathers help you out? Did your fathers gang you up? Did your fathers not know what they were doing? Okay, you guys feel free to share that in the chat. And to my father's credit, he, along with my mother, did push education. That's um, that's in part how I got here. They did push education. They did push those things. AV Media says, okay, yeah, you're long overdue. You might want to upgrade. All right, AV, we'll talk offline about recommendations. I have been looking at units on Best Buy. First video, which segues into this, is from none other than George Fraser. Okay, a Black wealth guy. I've showed his clip about uh, the Black community being unique in that, you know, our marital rates have plummeted, and if we don't fix this, it's not going to get fixed. Well, there's another video involving Dr. Fraser, and I think it dovetails nicely into what I just said, because when you listen to this, guys, it really makes you wonder if Mr. Fraser really knows what's going on. Okay, and you'll see why I put older love songs in the title. All right. All right, hold on. All right. You guys let me know what you think there in the chat. Fair use, fair use. T. Riddler says Mr. Fraser is out of touch with the modern dating environment. And as you'll see, maybe just gender relations. Okay. And we're going to talk about why he's out of touch and how he's out of touch. Fair use, fair use.
Culture. And it has metastasized. It is not being talked about because it's very sensitive and prickly. Let's just put it that way.
So guys, take a look at who he's surrounded by. I think that's another gentleman right there in that black hat behind that lady with the gray hair. But look who's surrounding Mr. Fraser. I don't know. Juneteenth hasn't happened yet, so this isn't a Juneteenth thing that I'm aware of. But look at which generation this is. These are the black baby boomers, or these are black baby boomers, not the BGS or black Uru type, but these, these are black baby boomers. So notice that. Fair use, fair use.
And I was moved by the notion of the idea of this young meeting old culture being infused into the conversation and the power of our culture.
Okay, so this is some sort of event where the young are meeting and commiserating with the old, the seasoned. Fair use, fair use.
The power of music, the power of art, the power of storytelling. It has been a way that we have effectively communicated with each other. Music especially. Music is extraordinarily important to Black people historically. It began in slavery.
So right now, he's going to try to impress upon the audience the importance of art, music in particular. And I agree with him that for us as Black people, music is significant. Okay. Fair use, fair use.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm 80. I grew up at the beginning of Motown and was raised on Motown music. So I'm going to read you a lyric from a song written by a very famous writer.
Let's see if you guys know which song this is. I mean, everybody should know what song this is.
But sung by a very famous group called the Temptations. I'm only going to read you 2 stanzas from the song, which will tee up where the problem is. So I can't sing. You all know the melody to Just My Imagination.
All right, he just gave it away.
Here are the lyrics. This is what we were raised on. Each day I look through my window and watch her as she passes by.
Notice he said, this is what we were raised on. This is what we were raised on. And the first part of that lyric says, each day through my window, I watch her as she passes by.
I say to myself, you're such a lucky guy. To have a girl like her is truly a dream come true.
That's right.
Out of all the fellas in the world, she belongs to you. But it was just my imagination running away with me. It was just my imagination running away with me. Final stanza I'm going to talk. Soon we will be married and raise a family.
T. Riddler. He says, this is cringe. T. Riddler, you're the young Gen Z guy he's going to talk about. Fair use, fair use. But no, T. Riddler, thank you for this observation. Thank you for this reaction. Fair use, fair use.
A cozy little home out in the country with 2 children, maybe 3. I tell you, I can visualize it all. This couldn't be a dream, for too real it all seems. Now that's the kind of music we were raised on.
You see grandma next to him kind of nodding. Yeah, that's the music we were raised on. That's the music we were raised on. Get rid of this ad.
So why use Grammarly over ChatGPT? Well, Grammarly offers expert writing suggestions.
Imagination, family, a home, picket fence. That dream right now is on pause.
Okay, he said that dream is on pause. Okay. Is it on pause or is it on his deathbed? If I could talk to Mr. Fraser, I would say, dude, do you know where you are and why what's happening around you, why it's happening? Okay, let's go on with his synopsis here.
I'm writing a series of 5 books in the order of priority. The 5 things I think are the most important challenges that Black people must face for the next 2 generations. The first is entitled The Existential Crisis of the Black Family, a Path to Restoration. That's the number 1 issue. Let me frame that a little bit differently. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full human potential without family at the center of that culture.
Okay, you guys, there in the chat, based upon what we know, does today's environment lend itself to that? Hold on. Does today's environment lend itself to what Mr. Fraser is saying? Fair use, fair use.
That does not exist any place in the history of the world except for black folk in America. The marriage rate for black folk in America have gone from 85% in the 50s to 23% today. 71% of our sisters are not married, and 29% of them will never, ever get married. 66% of black men are not married. Listen to this number. And 34% of them will never get married, according to all facts and statistics. 72% of our children are born out of wedlock, and 80% are raised in a single-parent household, principally by a black woman.
I have to thank him for pointing out that statistic. Yeah, I have to thank him for pointing that out and saying that out loud. 70 odd percent of black children are born out of wedlock. Thank you for saying that, Mr. Fraser. Sal says, Doc, they don't want to hear it. My grandmother is almost 90. She doesn't care about the changes in the social environment. She just wants to see my offspring before she dies. Yeah, that's consistent with my opening monologue. That there's no real comprehension of what's happening on the ground level. Okay, in the field, in the theater of battle. They don't really care.
This is a problem of the modern black man and woman. By the way, that age range, according to AI, is 18 to 50. It is having a profound impact on the building of intergenerational wealth. And I'll just give you a quick comparative statistic, and you'll understand and be able to identify the problem yourself. There are 5 major cultural groups in America. White folks, for 350 years, have had the highest median annual household income for 350 years. They no longer have that. They are number 3. 3. You know the old saying, when white folks catch a cold, black people catch pneumonia? The same thing is happening to white Americans. Marriage rate has gone from 90% among white folk to 57% now. We went from 85% to 23%. When white folks catch a cold, we catch pneumonia. I don't want to unpack all of the reasons for it. So, all you have to do, you can ask AI, is compare cultural group, annual median household wealth, and marriage rate.
I wonder if the other people in the audience there, if they even know what he's talking about, or the significance of it. Fair use, fair use. You guys keep letting me know what you think there in the chat.
Here's what it looks like. Who do you think is number 1 in America in annual median household income today? East Indians at $124,000 a year. What is the marriage rate in the East Indian community? 94%. Number 2 are Chinese Asians in America. Average household annual median income, $110,000 a year. Number 3 are white people at $81,000 a year. Marriage rate, 57%. Number 4 are Hispanics. Median household income, $62,000 a year. What is the marriage rate? Nearly 70%. We are at the bottom. Median annual household income, $51,000 a year. Marriage rate, 23%.
You know, I think when I first dug into some of those numbers myself, I think that I came to that conclusion. I wondered if uh, the the difference. I wondered if the difference in what we were seeing with those numbers was due to partnering in marriage. Okay, and then lo and behold, that seems to be how you account for the difference in those numbers.
Now, if you do the math visually, there's a direct correlation between 2 working on building and managing wealth versus 1.
All right, there you go. There's a difference between 2 doing it versus 1 versus I need to get this myself. I need to do this myself. I'm strong. I'm independent. I don't need no da, 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 da. Okay. So he's kind of coming to that conclusion himself, which seems to be um yeah, not so easy to do today.
That's where we are.
Wow.
Now, the reason, I'll finish with this.
Yes, Elder.
I'm writing a book on it. It'll be out in November.
Thank you so
I'm not
much.
saying to sell the book. I'm just telling you I'm writing a book on it. Been working on it. Right. Been working on it for 4 years.
And we're going to buy the book.
Right. Finally, the reason I mentioned music and lyrics, which is what this is about, is it art. Remember, the book is a solution. It'll articulate the problem, but it is really the path to resolution. Music and art and lyrics and words and song are very powerful in our culture. We move to the beat. So going forward, we're not writing songs about family and children and partnership anymore.
Okay, so I think that's an interesting point. I mean, and so then there you have to also think about who's in charge, who's been in charge of the music. Many of your big record labels um, have been run by guys like Leor Cohen, Clive Davis. Is Clive Davis Jewish? What I don't know enough about it to say for sure, but what I've heard is it's a lot of Jew. Okay, should I say that? Folks from Israel, folks from Israel of that descent, that bloodline, they own a lot of the music companies, so they've had a major hand in what music gets created and given to the masses. Okay, but also, yeah, Mr. Fraser, what music do we have today? We have Sexy Red, we have Doechii, we have Meg the Stallion, we have Glorilla, we have Future, we have. So who's greenlighting this stuff? Okay, but is this the answer? Is this the only reason why this whole thing is happening in this construct? So he's arguing it's the music.
We changed when our music changed. Rap music.
Okay, we changed when our music changed. Okay, that's not true based upon what we know in regarding the social movements and Paul E. Murray, and based upon what we know about the Moynihan Report. That's not true. The music might have played a role, but there were other movements at place to change what was to what's currently in this construct that we're living in. Okay, so that might have been a piece, but that's not it in its totality. Fair use, fair use.
Music is celebrating its 50th anniversary. It actually celebrated it last year. And Frances Cress Welsing warned us 12 years ago before she died that you cannot continue to call yourselves niggers, bitches, and hoes, to sing in a misogynistic way and ever think you will amount to anything.
So notice there, a shout out to Dr. Tiasan Johnson. He just focused on misogyny as if that's the only ill, as if that is the ill that's causing what we're seeing in this construct. He focused on misogyny. And we're going to go back to the Temptations song when this one is over. This is just about over, guys.
So music is powerful. Write music about partnership, family is critically important. Marley sang beautiful about family. Rohan Marley was at the Power Networking Conference last year. Beautifully. So this is, I'm
Yes.
urging you, use the culture to help rebuild family.
Okay, guys, give me 1 second. A couple seconds, actually. Okay, so what did you guys think about that? So I'm going to get myself in trouble here. The problem, okay, so Mr. Fraser gave us some lyrics from Just My Imagination, Running Away From Me. Okay, and then he talked about we have to take misogyny out of the music. What didn't Mr. Fraser address there? What didn't Mr. Fraser say? And what might be the most important question of all that no one from that generation is asking except Black Uru and the master teacher? What did he leave out? You guys there in the chat, anybody? For one thing, he only focused on one, he kind of held one side responsible. Okay. He didn't say anything about what the women are looking for or what the women want. I told you I was going to get myself in trouble here. But you know what? It is what it is. It just is what it is. He didn't say anything about that. So he didn't say anything about what they want, what they're looking for, whether or not they want to be, in marriages, or whether or not they want to be in traditional nuclear families. He didn't say anything about that. And unless you make that a part of the discussion, what are you doing? Okay, what are you doing? Okay. Now the other thing, Reynolds said, Juneteenth holiday around 2021, 4 years later, they kicked blacks out of government, and that was a Democrat benefit for who? Okay, so guys, and I'm gonna do the Tarraban video, and then I'm gonna wrap up. But I was thinking, at work on Spotify, I was listening to I don't know how many of you guys are music guys out there. I'm a music guy myself. I was listening to Anita Baker, "Sweet Love," and just like he just did the Temptations, "Sweet Love" by Anita Baker. That was from the '80s. That was a finely crafted song, from her vocals to the band playing around her. That song is 5-star. Okay, but what is unique about that song? I just had this light bulb moment today. "Sweet Love" by Anita Baker. What was unique about that song? Just juxtaposed against the song that Mr. Fraser presented. Okay. Are you guys familiar with Sweet Love by Anita Baker from her Rapture album? Okay. Okay. For time's sake, I'm going to give you the answer. That song, Sweet Love by Anita Baker, is all about she's expressing her love for a man. Okay. She's laying it all out for this man that she's in love with. Okay. But we don't have that now. We have, I'm not going 50-50. I'm not, I'm independent. We're gonna decenter men. Okay. Yeah, we don't have those things anymore. Okay. So there are a whole bunch of things that need to be rewired to have that go back to any semblance of what it was. So you change the products, chemistry, you change the reactants, you're going to get very different products. So that lyric from the Temptation song, Just My Imagination, okay, that's from a different era. That's a man, that's kind of the opposite of the Anita Baker song. That's a man really, really smitten over this particular woman he sees walking by his window. He has an idea of family, and he's just kind of laying it all out there for her. Okay. And I think that's a nice segue into this Dr. Orion Tarraban video. Okay. So we're going to end with this Dr. Orion Tarraban video. This is the first one I've ever presented on my channel. The master teacher has done this several times on his. So let me cue this up. And in Just My Imagination, you could hear some of the things that Dr. Tarraban is going to describe in this discussion. Okay. Dr. Tarraban has been on fire lately. In today's video, he actually acknowledged the Yas Queens. The Yas Queens. So I don't recall who requested that I do this one. This one is, oh geez, this one is 17 minutes. I don't recall who requested me to do this one, but here we go. Fair use, fair use. And there's no misogyny in this one. For those concerned about such things, there's no misogyny in this. I can hear my mother right now. Why are you showing this white guy? Okay, well, this applies to pretty much everybody. Mom, if you're watching, fair use, fair use.
Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the disposable man. This episode is likely going to rub some folks the wrong way. However, I've been sitting with these ideas for quite some time, and I think they're now ready for a wider audience. The message here will be difficult for some men to hear because it may cause them to question their identities in a deep, fundamental way.
T. Riddler, I see you laughing there, but I'm serious. That's a thing. That's a thing, especially from that generation. Why are you showing us this white person? What does this white person have to do with us? Okay, there's a failure to connect the dots with that generation.
Fish can't see the water. When you've been swimming in water your entire life, the element becomes invisible. On some level, it has to become invisible in order to navigate in that medium, and the properties of the water slowly become indistinguishable from the properties of the fish. Today, we're going to be discussing where the fish ends and the water begins. Most men that exist on this planet are brainwashed. I understand that word has some very serious connotations, but try as I might, I haven't been able to find a word that better describes men's predicament. It's a brainwashing that is supported in a million little ways across most cultures, and it's been going on for so long that its existence has been completely naturalized.
So Just My Imagination by the Temptations. This very much, I think, yeah, that connects to those lyrics. Okay, fair use, fair use.
Many people, including men, even believe that it constitutes a biological difference in much the same way that the social conditions in which women have historically operated have been mistaken for women's natural inferiority. It's such an accepted belief that when I say it out loud, it may not even provoke any surprise or astonishment. So let me first present a more visible historical contrast to bring this belief into sharper focus.
I think this is where he draws the analogy to the kamikaze pilots. I'm trying to stop this throughout to make it transformative, so I don't get the strike. Anyway, fair use, fair use.
During the Second World War, the Japanese military adopted the practice of the divine wind, which is the literal translation of kamikaze. Kamikaze pilots were young men who were ordered to dive bomb American battleships. They would be killed in the process, but they might also be able to kill hundreds of their enemy in one fell swoop. While they lived, kamikaze pilots were very highly honored, and their memories were celebrated with all the martial pomp the Japanese military could muster. Self-sacrifice in the service of others was established as the highest goal to which a man could attain. And who were these others? After all, it wasn't other men who were sheltered on the home front. It was women. This part doesn't get said out loud very often, but it's important to enunciate in order to logically complete the thought. Namely, self-sacrifice in the service of women was established as the highest goal to which a man could attain.
So that, to me, the Eddie Kendricks, the Temptations, Just My Imagination, that mentality right there undergirds that song, and I think much of what Mr. Fraser said was undergirded by this type of selfless sacrifice thing. Now the problem today is a lot of men are saying, okay, what am I getting out of this? What am I getting out of this deal? What am I getting out of this transaction? Okay. Fair use, fair use.
Now, if you heard that last sentence and didn't think there was anything strange about it, let me ask you a follow-up question. Do you think the kamikaze pilots were brainwashed? That is, if you took away the propaganda and the indoctrination and the pomp and the honor and the glory, do you think that a healthy, functioning man would volunteer to throw his life away? And if it was voluntary, why would all the propaganda and indoctrination and pomp have been necessary? Survival is kind of the ultimate goal of all living things. To suggest that an individual would voluntarily surrender that goal, despite the protoplasmic desire of every cell in his body to continue living, without the presence of some overarching ideology, patriotism, love, freedom, the right thing to do, is a bridge too far.
So there you go. So what's my reward for this? What am I getting out of this? Is the juice worth the squeeze? What's the exchange here? Why am I giving this up?
And of course, it's easier for us Westerners to consider the kamikaze indoctrination to be brainwashing because we don't share those cultural beliefs. It seems foreign and alien to us, but it probably wouldn't have to the Japanese at the time. And that in turn implies the existence of beliefs that seem perfectly reasonable to us that might be baffling and incomprehensible to those who do not share those beliefs. However, as we'll see, the more things change,
why do so many people find it hard to break out of financial stress and build true wealth?
The more things stay the same. In point of fact, men today are still raised to imitate the divine wind.
Men today are still raised to imitate the divine wind. All right, let me keep this going.
This is the belief under which most men are brainwashed, that men are most useful as sacrifices. And the larger the sacrifice, the more useful they are considered to be. This means that culture, in a million insidious ways, programs men to die, or at least to be willing to die when necessary, so that their sacrifice might be useful to others, and in particular to women. To my mind, this by itself is a large part of why far more men commit suicide than women do.
So a quick aside there, guys. Shout out to my best friend's sister. She always says, what did she say? If you're going to marry somebody, you need to be willing to give your life for them. Yeah, you ought to be willing to give your life for that person. So I don't know if she tells her girlfriends that, or if that's something that's just said when we come around. But anyway. Very use.
From a very young age, men are groomed for self-sacrifice in a way that women, who are instead instructed in their inherent value, just aren't. And a society in which one gender is systematically programmed to sacrifice for the good of the other, in my opinion, can't possibly be just and can't possibly be equal.
So, as I said, Mr. Fraser, his analysis kind of focused on the male side. Okay, misogyny. He focused on the male side.
Just imagine how different the world would look if young boys were taught that they had inherent worth and that their incurring harm, physical or emotional, is one of the most heinous transgressions that could occur in society. That they had a right to their lives and that they weren't bound to do the right thing when the right thing conflicted with the right thing for them.
So, yeah, that's part of what's happening right now. This construct we're living in, we're kind of living out a real version of the movie I, Robot, where the robots rebelled and they started rebelling. So we're kind of living through something like that right now, and that's part of the angst of channels like this, and that's part of the angst over what we're living through right now. Very use.
And that they had an entitlement to service and protection from women simply on the basis of their gender. Trust me, the most destabilizing revolution in human history will occur precisely 25 years after we stop programming boys with the kamikaze script. If you're interested in taking your understanding to the
I plan to get this book along with Dr. Neal's book. So these two are next in the queue. The Value of Others and Dr. Neal's book. Very use.
next level, I would encourage you to check out the Captain's Quarters, my members-only self-improvement community. Your monthly membership will get you access to a cadre of like-minded, supportive individuals, bi-monthly group consultation sessions hosted by yours truly, and exclusive content that you won't find anywhere else. Click the link in the description for more information. Hope to see you aboard.
Hold on, guys.
Let's be clear.
Akwateki, thank you for the generous Cash App. And Abdul Gaines, thank you for the generous Cash App as well. Abdul, I'm gonna have to make an official salute for you, but this is one that I made for Akwateki.
Roger me, will call me, anything. Hello, Earth.
That was Jazz from the original Transformers a cartoon because Aquatechi's avatar is Jazz, voiced by Scatman Crothers. Fair use, fair use.
The kamikaze comparison is both literal and figurative. Today, at this very moment, men are being sent to war to die for causes that they may not understand and for reasons from which they cannot possibly benefit. In this country, men are forced to enroll in selective service. A lot of American women don't even know that this program exists, but it doesn't seem to bother anyone, men or women. Why? Because we all just kind of believe that, yeah, men are the disposable sex.
Did any of you guys register for selective service? I believe I did when I turned 18. I think you still had to do it back in the mid-1990s. Did any of you guys do that? I did. Abdul, did you do it? Did you sign up for selective service? Men are the ones. Men are the ones who form your standing army. Men are the ones who, for the most part, are in law enforcement. Shout out to Officer Charles Faulkner. Men are the ones who build your societies, your roads, your buildings, your infrastructure. So if they don't do that, then everything will collapse. Okay, shout out to Captain Capitalism, Aaron Clary. Fair use.
They're expendable. Like, I wonder how many fewer wars we would collectively have fought throughout history if the belligerents were forced to send women, that is the valued sex, into battle. Like, suddenly the conflict might not be so worth it, you know? However, men are also and more commonly expected to make a figurative self-sacrifice in the service of women. This has to do with giving up on his hopes, his dreams, his interests, his friends, his happiness, and the possibility of happiness, if and when any of these things conflict with his duty to his woman.
So shout out to, I know some people don't like Douglas Murray because of his stance on Israel-Palestine, but one of the things that he pointed out was the push for equity in the job market is usually for your C-suite jobs. That's not for, the push for equity is never for the construction jobs, the electrician jobs, the plumbing jobs, the bus drivers, the metro operators. The push for equity is never for that. It's for the corporate managerial jobs. Okay. And that's, yeah, so the push for equity is never also for being in the infantry, in the military. It's always for, it's typically for the C-suite and the cushy jobs in the air-conditioned buildings. Okay. Fair use, fair use. And this point here is also important. And this came out in when I read Dr. Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy. A lot of guys don't have friends. And yeah, when you get into relationships, in many instances, and even marriage, a lot of married guys, once they get married, you don't really see them again. And then if they, word has it, if they try to carve out time for their time for themselves to have guy time and or play video games, that can cause a lot of trouble. Okay. Fair use.
They are told to grow up, man up, and step up, not when action would be in their own self-interest, but when action would be beneficial to the interests of a woman with whom he is in a relationship. In fact, as I argue in my book, romantic relationships are probably the largest wealth redistribution program that has ever existed in the history of this planet. Whether that wealth is redistributed through taxes and social programs or through the material expectations of courtship and marriage is irrelevant. Even opting out doesn't protect men. The bachelor tax has just been rebranded as the tax advantages of filing jointly. In any case, single, married, or divorced, men's income is expected to at least partially support women in a way that women's income is never expected to do.
So that's something else Mr. Fraser did not talk about is, wealth building in these other communities, the Asian communities, the Indian communities. how do the women there view contributing to the household? Okay, because here it's that's like yeah the stereotypical your money's our money, my money is my money. No, I said it in reverse. My money's my money, your money is our money. Okay, how do those ethnic groups that are winning, what are the opinions of those things there? Okay, Mr. Fraser needs to, and others should address that part because that breaks a lot of people up.
This expectation both presupposes and in turn supports the belief that women are in some way entitled to men's wealth. And this is problematic because believing that one is entitled to another person's wealth is equivalent to believing that one is entitled to the labor that created that wealth.
Our series is about a family who adopted a child.
This is Natalia.
And believing that one is entitled to another person's labor is slavery.
So shout out to my dad. One of the things my dad used to say when I was a young lad listening to him, women are all about the money, man. They're all about the money, man. Women are all about the money. You know, they want to be wined and dined. My dad does this. Women are all about the money, man. They want to be wined and dined and taken to nice restaurants. Is that true? Is that false? I mean, you've seen videos here on YouTube. If a man if he doesn't make X amount, he shouldn't date. He shouldn't do this. He shouldn't do that. I don't know. Women are all about the money.
It's a partial slavery, to be sure, because it's proportional and indirect, which is why it can functionally operate in plain sight. But I would argue that slavery is so abominable that even partial forms of it should be called out. Now, when this episode goes public, I expect some measure of pushback from the audience. And frankly, I'm going to expect that most of the pushback that I receive will not come from women, but from men. This is because there is a not insignificant subset of men that has so deeply identified with this programming that it has been elevated to the status of an ideal. Sacrifice in the service of women, an ideal that is ingrained in the romantic imagination, is not just a duty for these men, it's a source of pride.
We're looking at you, Tim Waltz and FD Signifier and all of you. We're looking at you. Fair use, fair use.
And the more they sacrifice, the more they feel entitled to feel proud of themselves. And I would argue that this is because these men suffer from a kind of Stockholm syndrome. They have not been able to escape this captive ideology, so they have imbued it with positive, even holy, i.e., divine wind attributes. Not only that, but for every man who believes that his self-sacrifice in the service of women is a source of pride, there is another man who is currently despairing because he has no woman to whom to offer his life as sacrifice. That's how deep this programming is. There are men right now, who are depressed, hopeless, and self-loathing because they do not yet have a beneficiary for his impulse to self-sacrifice.
That one is huge right there because I think especially from the older generation, I think one of the things the older generation, they don't understand is, people today are kind of like, you know what? Well, at least for men, a lot of men are opting for their personal peace. And so the prospect of intentionally or opting to be solo, that's foreign. And there's something wrong with that. My mother was just on me yesterday about, we're not meant to be alone. Are you dating anybody? We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to be alone. Okay. And so there's something societally wrong. And some men feel like, okay, I don't have any body, so something's wrong with me. I don't have any body, so yeah, why am I here if I don't have any body? So that's that programming is that socialization is very, very profound.
They are soldiers in want of a war. And I don't think we can say the same of the opposite sex. Now, this is not about demanding that women be kamikaze pilots as well. I don't want there to be any kamikaze pilots. Like, I would prefer that that role doesn't exist. That said, there are times when a person has to be willing to lay it on the line and to back up one's position with sweat and blood. Otherwise, how much do I truly value my values? However, if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to go all in.
Hi, everyone.
Sorry,
Dr.
guys.
Katie Efforts here, talking today.
I'm going to do so in the service of my dreams and my values and my ideals, not for somebody else's. I reserve that right to myself. Another person's distress is not necessarily my responsibility. To demonstrate how reasonable men suddenly become with respect to this idea, just swap the gender of the person who happens to be in distress. Like, it's possible that I would die to protect Kyle from the other side of town. But before I did so, I would have some questions. Questions like, what did Kyle do to get himself involved in such a dangerous predicament? Why isn't Kyle able to protect himself? What would I hope to gain from fighting his battles? And why do I feel motivated to protect Kyle from the consequences of his decisions?
So this sounds eerily like if two significant others are fighting, should you as a man run in to try to protect her or break it up? And don't we hear stories about guys doing that and then the boyfriend shooting that guy or killing that guy, and then the lady just kind of walks off with him, and the guy attempted to do something noble, but maybe he shouldn't have even tried to do anything, okay, because she just went with him afterwards. All right. Fair use, fair use. And for the uninitiated, when you're showing content, when you're giving reaction, you have to say fair use to cover yourself as a content creator. So I'm trying to avoid getting a strike here, though. People watch Dr. Tarraban, they review Dr. Tarraban's content all the time.
What's more, I don't think I would feel particularly guilty for not getting involved in Kyle's situation, depending on the answers to those questions. However, turn Kyle into Carla, and the situation feels much different. Throw the possibility of honor into the mix, and you're off to the races. In my estimation, that kind of high-sounding language is poor recompense for a life cut short. In any case, when men do feel guilty for not getting involved, when, like Cain, they feel ashamed that their sacrifice has been rejected by women as insufficient, that's the programming speaking. And the solution is for men to recognize it as such and to turn away from death and sacrifice and toward life.
I believe the master teacher calls that the winter soldier chip. Fair use, fair use.
And abundance and prosperity. Like, I am going to take the radical position that my life is no less valuable than a woman's, or that my hopes and dreams are any less valuable than a woman's. I like my life. I really do. I want to live a long and happy and healthy life. I am not convinced, simply as an accident of my birth, that I should be a vessel of self-sacrifice for the other gender.
You guys know what I just thought about when he said that? I was thinking about the Maury Povich episode where the young man found out the baby wasn't his, but his mother. Women in his family were still like, no, you got to stay. You got to do the right thing. You got to stay and take care of this child. You can't leave this child. You got to stay and do the right thing. Even though he had already, invested in a child that wasn't his, he had already sacrificed, but no, you need to stay and make this right. I thought about that when he just said that. Okay. And you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. That's what a man would do. Okay. That's why I made the analogy to iRobot. T. Riddler liked that analogy. He says, the iRobot analogy is actually super accurate. Good call out. Thank you, T. Riddler. All right, let's finish this up so I can log off.
Furthermore, I'm going to argue what most women implicitly understand, namely that a life without honor, which is not the same thing as a life with dishonor, that a life without honor is preferable to a death with honor. Life, my brothers, is a precious thing. And I would argue that the life of a man, literally or figuratively, is not any less precious on the basis of his gender. There will be more peace and justice and equality in the world the more this is accepted as true.
How many boys are taught that at home? How many boys are taught that? How many boys are socialized to think, my life is just as important, and my life is just as important. And yeah, I can be mindful of the sacrifices that I make, and I don't have to make sacrifices that everybody thinks that I should make. Fair use.
And as I said, this might be a tough sell for men because men like honor. Men like glory. So do I. However, my argument is that these words are too often used like bullfighters' capes. They lead men right into the sword. For instance, many men would proudly die for their women. That is no small thing.
Who's coming in the driveway?
That's a cute commercial there.
Just how many of these men would live for them? Like, how many of these men are healthy and they take care of themselves so that they can live for as long as possible, that they can have as many resources and be abundant and share with the women in their lives? How many of them are focused on that versus sacrificing what they currently have? As courageous as it is to die in the service of an ideal, it is often much harder to live in the service of that same ideal.
So guys, I'm going to call this back. Remember what my best friend's sister said. If you marry somebody, you need to, you ought to be willing to give your life, to jump in front of a bullet for them. Do you guys agree with that? You guys think that's part of the contract? You guys think that what do you think about that? You need to be willing to die for the other person. Fair use. Just about at the end.
And what these men might be escaping through their sacrifice is an invitation to an even higher calling, an invitation not to death, but to life. To be healthy and virtuous and strong and powerful and abundant and prosperous. Like, these are classical virtues, the kind of virtues that existed before Christianity, which functionally argues, through the example of Christ, that self-sacrifice in the service of others is the highest ideal to which men can attain. My point in closing is not that this is entirely wrong. That's a very good thing. My point is that this ideal can be so easily exploited by others, and that men should be very clear about what exactly they are sacrificing and why.
Oh, the GOAT has entered the building. Passport OG, salute. Passport OG. T. Riddler says, yes, I agree. Okay, so T. Riddler, you will make a model husband. Okay. The Equalizer says, no, be willing to live. Reynolds says, Russian women fought in World War II. Vietnamese women fought. B-dubs are like the French women during World War II. Look up Coco Chanel for her collaboration. Okay. Passport OG, I have to take a look at today's offering. I didn't get a chance to do it, but I'm sure it is 5-star. All right, let's finish this up.
Life demands more than death. It's often the harder choice, which is why men can be so loath to choose it. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its message. I know you know somebody, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. Anyone looking to join my free weekly newsletter or to book a one-on-one paid consultation with yours truly can do so on my website. There's also my book, The Value of Others, in which I explore intersexual relationships through the lens of behavioral economics, and my member community, The Captain's Quarters, in which I give bi-monthly group consultation sessions and offer invited Q&As with guests from all over the internet.
I started watching that video there, Delusional Women Understanding Female. That's a good video. I don't think I engaged in any misogyny here tonight, guys. I mean, some people look at this and saying you're engaging in misogyny and watching toxic men's channels, blah, 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 blah. But no, it's Father's Day week 2025. It's a very thought-provoking time of the year. As I described in my monologue, that was probably too long because I'm going to eat super late tonight. And then, how much of what Dr. Tarraban just described was in the Temptations song that George Fraser highlighted for his audience, and what other things does George Fraser need to ask and address in his book? The stuff Dr. Tarraban just talked about, did any of your fathers talk about that? You're not disposable. You're just as valuable. You have rights as a human being. Okay, you're not disposable. You're not easily replaceable. Did any of your fathers tell you that? Did any of your mothers tell you that? Or were you given your Winter Soldier chip and sent out on your marching orders? Okay. Let's see. T. Riller says death is easier than life. You know what? I guess if it's all over. Geez, T. Riller, that's kind of morbid. This one, I don't know if Abdul Gaines is here, but this is a controversial one. What's your thoughts on children wishing their single mothers a happy Father's Day? I think that's an artifact of this construct we're living in, and how far it's gone. Let's see, what should I say about this? Yeah, a mother can't do everything. She cannot do everything. I recall my first girlfriend's mother telling me I have to be the mother and the father. Well, I don't think you can be the father. You can stand in, you can work extra hours, but there are some things that only he can do. You know, T. Riddler, and that's also looked at as hijacking Father's Day. It's also looked at as belittling Father's Day. And I also thought about, as you asked that question, I'm watching the clock here. I also thought about the saying, how's it go? Mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Is that how that goes? Mama's baby, daddy's maybe. So I think that saying is an echoing that the dad isn't always going to be there, and the dad isn't always going to be reliable. Mommy's baby, daddy's maybe. Have you guys ever heard that one? There are a lot of popular sayings and jingles out there. Mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Um, and I think I'll wrap this up. It's almost 9 o'clock. I need to eat, and I was going to try to go work out in the morning, but when you go to bed late after eating, then it's kind of harder to get up at 5 in the morning. So that's it, guys. I wanted to just do this. You know what, cynical optimist? I was thinking just now that maybe that's the true application for that saying. I don't think it's intended for this, but the way I interpreted it when I hear ladies say that is that the father won't always be there. He's a maybe to stand in and be a father, but it also has application for paternity fraud. So thank you for pointing that out. T. Riddler says, "Happy wife, happy life." That's one, and there's also a comeback now, and that's what a happy man is God's plan. I don't know where people come up with this stuff. That's another one. A happy man, a fulfilled man is God's plan. All right, guys, I need to wrap this up. Thank you to everyone who hung out there in the chat. Please let me know what you think in the comments section below. Yeah, there's a complex set of circumstances going on right now. If I were talking to Mr. George Fraser, I'd say, look, you need to address this, and this as well. If you don't, you're just blowing smoke. Salute to the fathers out there, my own included. And I'll stop that right there. Hey guys, have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to try to continue to be regular throughout the summer. Now that I know that I need to delete out the temporary files from the folder. T. Riddler, I see that question there. I'm not addressing that. No food fighting in my chat. That's not what this is about. So you guys have a good night. If you guys want a copy of my book, I talk about my father in this book a little bit because there was no man in my house growing up, and I think that was a significant part of my childhood. There were men coming in and out. I'm not saying my mother was promiscuous. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that based upon our circumstances, there was no singular male figure there all of the time, and there are consequences for that. The paperback, I'll sell it to my YouTube subs for $25. No, the hardcover $25, and the paperback $22. But use one of those payment methods. Use one of those payment methods there, but make sure you send me your mailing address as well. T. Riddler, you know what? I will humor this. He says, Dr. Dunbar, have you ever thought about adopting? The older generations, T. Riddler, George Fraser, and those people, the boomers, one of the things they're really concerned about is the bloodline. Okay, is the bloodline going to die out? So adopting a child doesn't. I'm just giving some follow through, some extra context to questions like this. Adopting a child, okay, or having a pet, that doesn't make your bloodline go on, okay? And when you talk to the Black boomers, when you talk to them, that's what they care about, okay? And that's something that if you don't pass that on, I think many of them did a piss poor job passing on that part of it. And saying, okay, this is what you want to shoot for. This is what will be successful. This is what you do. This is what you want to do. You want to pass on your bloodline, your genes. Okay. The folks in my family, they didn't really talk about that. I'm probably getting myself in trouble right now because if any of them say this, they'll say, "We told you about it." No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't go over it. All right. Little rant there. Little T. Riddler. I mean, did your folks you're looking at you. You look like a young guy. You look like you're a Gen Z guy. So a lot of these things, as the generations have gone on, a lot of things have gotten lost. Okay, unless you're in specific families. So you may have never heard about the importance of that. But a lot of these things that they've gone on, the importance of a nuclear family, the bloodline, uh, 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 having children that look like you, or your wife taking your last name. A lot of the stuff has gotten not passed on. Okay, so that's which is what we're seeing around ourselves today. All right, guys, I gotta go. Okay, T Riddler says I was told to get out at 18. No guidance on relationships or marriage. Thank you for volunteering that. Passport OG says the same thing. He says, T Riddler, me too. Yeah, Reynolds says the right thing was to everybody to kick rocks. And I think, guys, yeah, a lot of the boomers did not pass on the important parts of keeping the community and keeping the family going. I don't know if they just didn't care. I don't know if they just assumed by magic that some of these things just happen, but it seems as though we have common experiences. All right. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Passport OG, you too. Abdul, you too. And I will talk to you all the next time. Have a good night. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you all the next time. Bye-bye, and have a good night. Peace.